Hi, I'm Dr. Amy Robbins, and welcome to Life, Death, and the Space Between podcast. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and medium, and here we explore life, death, consciousness, and what it all means. Today, I have such an esteemed guest who I'm so excited to converse with, Dr. Paul Drouin, MD, Doctor of Natural Medicine and Professor of Integrative Medicine, acupuncturist and homeopath, founded Quantum University in 2002. Dr. Paul devoted more than 20 years to private practice as a medical doctor in Canada, exploring both traditional and complementary methods of healing to further his knowledge of curative, preventative, and integrative medicine. In his book, Creative Integrative Medicine, Dr. Paul states, "My objective in creating Quantum University was to update the medical and natural curriculum with the latest discoveries in neuroscience and quantum physics into a coherent and practical multidimensional model of integrative medicine." Dr. Paul's vision has now evolved into the world's largest institution of higher learning, providing online degrees and certification programs in holistic, alternative, natural, and integrative medicine. Quantum University. He is also the creator of Project Noosphere, a unique global consciousness accelerator designed to facilitate and support the health of individuals and the planet through the power of collective meditation. Welcome, Dr. Paul.
That's my pleasure to be with you, Dr. Amy.
I could really use your help. If you haven't had a chance yet to listen to my season 5 opener, go back and listen to that. But in the event that you don't, I need your support. If you've been listening to me for a while, or even if you just started, you can go to Patreon and put in Dr. Amy Robbins. And there you can find different levels in which you can support the podcast financially. At this point, I have no ads. I have no sponsors. I am solely self-funding this podcast, and it would really help me out if you've gotten something out of this podcast. If you could donate $5, $10, or even $20 a month just to help me out, to help support the podcast. I'm continuing to work to try to get sponsors, to try to get advertisers, but until that happens, I need your help. And there are other ways to support the podcast. In addition to Patreon, you can like the podcast, you can subscribe to the podcast, you can rate and review the podcast. I always love reading your reviews. They're really heartwarming to me, and it's the emotional currency that I get from providing you with this resource. So please take a moment to just help me out here. You can also find the links in this episode, in the episode notes, as well as on my website at dramyrobbins.com. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Amy Robbins. So help us understand the context to how you, a 20-year traditional medical doctor in Canada, caused you or resulted in a shift to looking at the quantum world and how that impacts our health and wellness.
Yeah, you can see it's a shift, but it's a progressive shift because already in Canada I was implementing what we call integrative medicine. As you said, I'm also homeopath and natural medicine and acupuncturist. So I will have when client will come to me, I will see them from the medical point of view, more conventional, and also integrating this broader spectrum of other modalities like acupuncture, homeopathy, dactyl microscopy. So, and as I evolved in this, sooner or later, of course, my peers were questioning me, what you're doing is non-scientific, it's not teaching in university. Because what is teaching in university is related to a model of science that from my point of view, is outdated and cannot understand all the subtle energy, all that could be integrated with quantum physics now. So And at the end of the day, conventional medicine has a model that is kind of targeting matter. And we know from the quantum physics point of view now that matter, what we see, is just a tiny, tiny fraction of our reality. So without coming with an update model of science where we can start to understand all these ancient models of healing, like the acupuncture based on the qi, the natural medicine on life force, and so on, we are very narrow in our way to restore health. So, and this is what brought me in the United States. And, said, hey, it's not teaching university. We don't have, we cannot explain how works these southern energy, homeopathy, and so on. So let's create a university where we have an update model of science. And this is where, from this broader view of quantum physics, that we can understand more how the whole reality of the human nature, this was the project of Quantum University. So evolving from a clinical point of view, integrating modality, being questioning by my pair, and here I do a very, very short story of this. Then it carried me in the United States where, I first started Quantum University, was a Institute of Quantum Biofeedback, and then came in Hawaii, created the university, and attract people like we were talking about Bruce Lipton, Joe Dispenza, Lynn McTaggart, and we have even as a guest speaker Nassim Haramein and all the others. This collegiality now of the great thinkers that are changing the trend of medicine. Being part of the university, we embrace the full spectrum of a curriculum from genetic to behavior, changing behavior, to understand the premise of this quantum physics applied to medicine, and so on. So this is what is Quantum University, and as it's now Quantum University has 20 years. First, of course, you think you are isolated, but then you discover that many people are aligned with this new way of thinking and understanding reality, which is very, very necessary to this kind of, I will say we are in a very chaotic moment. Mm-hmm. I think healthcare is in some way becoming non-affordable because, it's so limited in its way to understand the human reality. Without this new expansion of understanding, we are kind of, we'll not say doomed, but very, very challenged.
So for my listeners who might be new to the idea of quantum physics, can you help lay the groundwork and talk about the science of quantum physics? And then I'm curious what that actually then looks like and how that translates into practice.
Yeah, this is it's fundamental question because quantum physics is a whole word. And I'm not physicist. And what I was interested in is what are the principles of quantum physics that can apply to healing and medicine. And Dr. Amit Goswami was a pioneer of this. He's himself a physicist teaching in Oregon. He wrote about, I don't know, now it's probably a dozen books. And one was a quantum doctor. This is how I was brought to him. And also the movie in 2004, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Mm-hmm. So he was on this podcast too. I think maybe that's how I found you. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't Bruce Lipton.
So he laid out the principles. So the first one is non-locality. Because, through quantum physics, we realize that we are entangled at this and we can communicate at this end. There's many phenomena that could not be explained. By example, telepathy and communication. And Goswami had sometimes done experiment in Mexico where he could demonstrate, you can have a non-local communication. This is huge. It's like, hey, when medicine look at a human being is in terms of separateness. The object is separate from the subject. And so you already break a barrier. I will talk later about all the implication of that. The other one is entanglement. The particle can be influences at distance. This is huge. This is shift totally the relation between the client and the practitioner, or the patient and the doctor. Because in our conventional medicine, even psychology, it's like you are still in this mode of separateness. One of the first things I was learning at medicine and medical school is like, hey, the lab is everything. The communication with your client, don't, fade, with the whole shebang of tool of investigation. This is not how it works, because both, when they get in relation, they are entangled. So this is very, very important. The way the doctor think when we have an outcome on the result of the treatment, of the healing. And we have some our students on PhD on this, and just the questionnaire was already modifying the outcome. So when we add this in our relation coaching and everything, the whole perspective change from a relation where the doctor is everything, you're expecting all to fix your problem with the science that is limited in fact, because as I said, it's, quantum physics teaches us that what we see is 0.0001% of the reality. So meaning we ignore the whole, what we call the biofield. We ignore everything that is going on in terms of atomic energy, subtle energy, and so on. So, and then the other principle that was very impressive is like discontinuity. So it's like energy moved by bump. So, and then in medicine, listen, how it works is like, and it's okay, we need that. I'm not going against it. I'm a medical doctor. I am looking to integrate both worlds. But as I was trained as a medical doctor, it's like the client walk in, and then your job is to find what's wrong with this client, and then to fix it. And it's like you get in a box. Okay, this is what you have to understand. Most of the disease today, most of them relate to the connection mind and body. Most are degenerative disease. And then when you have processed the patient client to this evaluation, screening of diagnosis, you come with a disease. This disease, and then you have two ways to solve the disease, either surgery or pharmaceutic. And then we realize after 50 years that, we heal very little. It's like, this is why medicine is so expensive. Of course, surgery can fix some problem. We have accident, trauma, and everything, and it's important to have this. But at the end of the day, where is the bill is chronic degenerative disease. This last 6 months, where, you try to just pamper your patient in some way, make them comfortable. And even today, coaching, we're coming in at Quantum University, what we call exponential coaching. We have to coach from the point of view that, it's not a prognose, pamper the client, make it comfortable, but no, restore the belief in this unlimited potential within from where can emerge healing. So discontinuity, this is what, so what it means is like in quantum physics, it's like you get out of this box where you have a diagnosis and prognosis and get in the field where everything is possible. First, number one, is open the possibility to use other modality. We just in your 1,000 years of exploration, acupuncture is based on Chinese and Taoist medicine. This is 1,000 years of experience. Homeopathy, 300, 400 years. We just cancel all these other modality, past and now future, because you have a lot of device now that can work with the field, the biofield. And also you make this possibility of what we call spontaneous healing. In 1990, Mark Chopra wrote this book, Spontaneous Healing. These people were supposed to die, and was discount from the system and go home. There is nothing more to do, and then pop, from an event, an experience, an aha moment, they were spontaneously healed. And now, and even now at university, we see of our students, start to applying these principle and have this kind of magic healing in their practice. My next blog is wrote on this is it's about extraordinary healing. So now we start to see that. So in other words, we shift from a model of conventional medicine that is based on matter and in some way box client, patient in a diagnostic where most of the time you don't have hope. You shift this to a model of science that, take in consideration all the southern energy, the biofield, and then you direct and orient them to a possibility of everything can be accessed. So it's totally different.
So how does that impact someone who perhaps had a diagnosis of cancer? And, I think so often we feel like that diagnosis is a death sentence in some form.
Exactly. So this is what I'm talking about. You see, diagnostic, death sentence, the guy with the stethoscope around the neck, the white blouse, people are totally devastated. So and 20 years ago, I saw a woman, I call them the heroes of medicine because they say, hey, guy, you don't have the whole truth. And they start to go around and look at the quantum physics or other model of healing, change their nutrition, change their habit, change their way of thinking. Because many times these cancer originate with trauma, psychological trauma. Hammer medicine has demonstrated that. So in other words, it's like you get in this is what we teach at universities. It's like you open a possibility, but you have a different level of information because that cancer could have been created by nutrition, again, by belief system, could have trauma. So you look at all these layers of information. So please look at my next blog. You go on Quantum University blog. It will be published in a week or so, or my website, drpauldrouin.com. I have testimony of like three clients, 4 patient or student that has been healed from their cancer, and it's amazing because all these stories are different. One has like renal cancer, the other one had another very known culturist. Even he knew about nutrition, he was missing some piece of information. He had like a grade 4 cancer stage. So another one with lung tumor. So please, you go there, you will see them talking about their healing. So in other words, it's like this is what is university. We train new doctors. We train coaches. To kind of grasp, understand this information, how we tie quantum physics to medicine and healing. And then, they put all the pieces of the puzzle together. And this is where the magic happens. People, in medicine, this is what we're looking. We're all the time looking for one bullet, because the thinking is like, hey, find the disease, fix the disease. You have a cancer. It could be coming from the environment, the water that has been polluted by an industry and so on, but very rarely, but most of the time it's like a plate where you have to look at nutrition, you have to look at belief system, behavior, trauma, and you put all this together. And actually, the therapist is not the one who heals, it's the individual that heals, that recreate an environment that we call bioterrain, that is propice, that from where it can emerge is healing.
And I think this is so important because I think when people hear quantum physics or quantum reality, they think it's completely magical. And what I'm hearing you say is it's not actually magical at all. There are multiple pieces that create our reality. And how we bring that in or keep that out is what creates the environment for which anything can breed and grow.
Exactly.
Is
Yeah.
that
Oh,
accurate?
yeah, that makes sense. And someone was saying, it's Nassim, he was saying, hey, everything is magical, everything is supernatural, as long we don't come with the science to explain it. So, and now quantum physics opened the door. And we need many players, you know, it's like Dr. Goswami lay out the premise of this quantum physics that apply to medicine. And then we have other physicists like Gary Crown developed technology to implement this, and Nassim is another one. So, you know, you're asking questions like you have a foot in the door, and as you go, the question is how deep you want to go. And one said, you know, how far the rabbit hole you want to go down, the rabbit hole you want to go. So, yeah, and it's so exciting. It's exciting because it's promising. You know, even look, the whole, it's not just medicine that is hitting like a wall, a dead a dome is a spot. It's the whole world. So, but at the same time, quantum physics reveals us that there is a tremendous energy that we have access. And one of my last courses is about harvesting subtle energy from within. There is a tremendous energy there that tomorrow can resolve, you know, the crisis of energy. Because, you know, this is where quantum physics will probably have a surprise, you know, when we start to extract, you know, from the field, you know, this energy that is limitless and can resolve first the energy crisis. And then I think the second industry in the world is healing. You know, it's like the way people is framed, the thinking, the outdated model of science, it's become unaffordable. You know, I'm coming from Canada, social medicine, people think it's the dream medicine. No, it's not. Their budget, they are short in budget. They have to cut everything. They cannot see doctors and whatever. It's another drama. Here in America, you go in the emergency room, it costs you, if you don't have, they can put a Band-Aid and it would cost $1,000. You know? So we need to, in some way, re-give the power of healing to the individual. You know, when we have a crisis like COVID, you know, I don't want to criticize it. Everybody probably has tried to do the best, but the management is like we have in our inner unlimited immunity potential. You know, it's like it was not part of the conversation. You know, how you build your own health and how you build your own immunity and how you can resist. And people think it's finished. No, we have another virus, and then everything else. Every year there is another challenge. Now you have to rebuild what I call the health potential, and this is what also our coaching program at Basin is give access to individuals, teach them to access these limited source of healing with it.
So in some way, I'm not a medical doctor, but at some point there was a shift from terrain theory to germ theory, right? And part of that is how much are we paying attention to the terrain in which we are allowing breeding grounds for disease to happen. And it sounds like what you're doing is really using this quantum physics as the underlying modality to understand how many different ways we can change the terrain.
Yes, that's true. But, you know, 300-400 years ago, Pasteur and Bichat, this is what you referred to, came one with the germ theory, the other one came with the terrains, and of course the one who won was Pasteur. But there's a lot of benefit that came from Pasteur, antibiotics, and so. And where I am now, it's like you have to integrate both. You know, you add the other perspective, but we didn't have any science to lay out these hypotheses. Now, quantum physics is there. You know, this understanding of what I call the biofield, or it's even more than that. But biofield it's a coin name now that is kind of both parts, both parties can accept to talk about. So now we start to lay out another also science that can understand how works homeopathy and how works, as I said, acupuncture and so on. So this is very important because people, the last thing they were talking in this COVID crisis, science. Okay, I make that choice because science, and then you realize the chaos of it because one will come from an angle and saying it's science to do this, and another come from another angle. It's a science to do that. That science what they're talking about is outdated. We have to add. And is quantum physics a science or it's not a science? Yes, it's a science. It's a science that it can broaden our way to look at reality. And this is so big because you have to understand, think about just Galileo and Copernic. They said, hey, the center of the world is not the earth, it's the sun. One was put in jail, has to retract. Just changing that, was, shaking the foundation of society at that time. And you realize that most of the time they chose a way to look at the world that is attached to some benefit, right? And then at that time, religion and science or the government was kind of linked together. Today, do you know what we are saying? Okay, we are saying the matter or conventional medicine based on a model that is what we call upward model. It's saying that, hey, the ground is what we see. In other words, we start with the atom, the molecule, and then the whole human body. And at the end of the day, you have the brain and you have the mind. And this model, according to this model, is saying, hey, as you were talking at the beginning, where is the mind? So, and for them, it's like, the mind is the byproduct of all the result of all this chemistry going on inside. And so it doesn't work. For years we have a model, we say, hey, the mind is there, the body is there, the heart is there. And then we have this Cartesianist model of, hey, don't talk to this thing at the same time. Psychologists take care of the mind, the doctor take care of the body, and the priest take care of so now the way we're looking at the world now, we reverse that. We call that a downward causational model. In other words, it's like consciousness is the ground of everything. So both become possibility of consciousness, mind and brain. In other words, we reconciliate, the whole way to look at it's bigger than saying, hey, just the earth is not the center of the world. It's bigger than that. And do you think that doesn't shake all the paradigm around that has probably associated with some, benefits and so on? Yeah, this is huge, So when we start to, and we already starting to shift that, because soon as we're talking now, we can see that changing our perspective, change also the outcome of at a material level, healing happen. You will have technology that are based on this way to look at the world. It's coming now. So in other words, it's like, we will go there not because we chose it, it's because it become a necessity to think that this, because we are in the cul-de-sac. We are in a dead end, with everything, with energy, with politics, with religions, and in medicine, it's even more evident.
So when you talk about subtle energies, how do you define subtle energies?
There's many way to look at it. A subtle energy in medicine, and I wrote also another blog on this. To blend both together. The subtle energy from quantum physics, it all depends on the model you attach to it. But it's like, it's the ground of subtle energy is consciousness. But before we go there, we have to understand the quantum mechanic of it. Okay. First, I try to revisit ancient model of healing, and Taoist medicine is one of them. Because from one of the priority when I start to create this curriculum is to have a subtle energetic, or what we call it today holistic anatomy. Do you know where is birth medicine? Medicine is birth. I think 200-300 years ago when they start to dig in the ground, and bring cadaver and start to understand how works the body, the mechanics. And before, this was very esoteric, and then of course you have other. This is a long story, but the sparkle of the modern medicine stopped there. And I look at it and I say, we don't have any model of subtle anatomy. No model of how the subtle energy circulate. Then I revisit the Taoist medicine. We create entirely a course called, we call it holistic anatomy, but it's about subtle energy, how this, circulate, collapse. Because if you say everything is consciousness, but you need to understand the mechanic of it, okay? So, and this is laid out in this course, how the energy, and then of course, I'm revisiting also the meridian. I'm visiting a concept called atomic heart, at the center of the spine. The Taoist master already have perceived how the energy was circulating there and spreading to others. We call that the quads, through the meridians. And then more than that, you start to understand also, that these energy, these different these different meridian are associated with different quality, different emotion. So the health is not only an absence of disease, like we were saying 50 years ago, and then later on you say how good you feel, but it's also an integration, of your subtle energy or meridian, how they circulate and how they are totally, they manifest totally their perfect archetype, the perfect harmony. Let's say, by example, the heart. Heart is not just an organ. We know that heart is ready to love. And that love could be egoistic, possession and control, or this love can be altruistic, or this love could be more self and interest to the whole world. And this love can go from an ego kind of point center to a self one. So in other words, and as this quality of love, start to evolve, or someone grow in awareness and start to connect with this. So the heart become at its full health potential. So, but of course, this is like from Taoist medicine, trying to understand the subtle energy, the circulatory system, and I make the story short. But then you can go a little bit deeper with Nassim Haramein, by example, and understand exactly, the fundamental structure of you can go to the he called the proton, the quantization. So then it's another step further. But people doesn't need to go there. It's like you need to first understand from your human anatomy, reality, this subtle energy, and how this subtle energy is related with the choice you are doing. If you choose to hate, then you have, of course, a repercussion in your health. Someone that doesn't forgive, by example, it's no. You don't forgive, you hate, most of the time, after a certain time, if you don't have combined with a proper nutrition, then you may end with some type of cancer. Okay, I don't want to be dramatic, but it's like, it's like an awareness to kind of evolve the better choice of emotion, So this is how we integrate all this together.
So that is where
I don't get too complicated.
No. I'm following you. This is probably finally making the most sense to me that it's ever made, in terms of how quantum physics helps explain so much.
Oh yeah, it's grounded. Absolutely. This quantum physics is not like an etheric or just metaphysic concept. No, it's totally is sounded down to earth more than down to earth. It's down to, the atom, the quartz, the finest particle of energy that the quantum physics is aware of. It's all put together. Yeah.
So why do you think people are so resistant to using quantum physics as a way to help us better understand how we can create a different reality?
First, I wouldn't say everybody is resistant, okay? Because I thought I am alone in my corner.
That is true. That is true.
Today we are like 118 countries. Can you believe that? And then we are kind of a family. And many times people come to Quantum University and say, hey, this is what I am searching, or this is, I can identify to this. I could not put words to my experience. So, and this university has grown from hundreds to thousands of people. It's like, we're not alone. And you have this great thinker that start to put the science, articulate the wording behind it. We talked about them before, Dr. Dispenza, Dr. Lipton, Dr. Goswami, Lynn McTaggart, Crown. There is a collegiality of people thinking this way. And then I was assisting recently to Nassim conference, and the guy, he's amazing. He's putting in some way the physics equation to explain how this works. And he was very excited because years ago he could not even have expressed that, and today he can connect with other physicists that are coming at the same kind of conclusion. This is pretty amazing. So there is a trend there. Okay, there is a trend. The resistance in some ways will fade because this is what I said to you. It's like the necessity. We don't have the choice.
Right. What we're doing isn't working, right?
It's not working.
What we're doing isn't working.
It's not working, not affordable. And then it's not this part will disappear. We need integration. And this is the work at Quantum University. Now we're creating a platform called Exponential Healthcare. Coaching is another trend today. So we are training coaches, and we create a platform where all this information is accessible. It's like a turnkey business where students will already be able to practice. And
do you have roosters?
Let me just finish this point. It's very important because I am in this business now for 40 years now. Graduated in 75. And then, at that time, a few years after, someone came to my office and talked to me, and I was talking about meditation. The guy wrote an article, and I thought he was sympathetic to my cause. He said that in French, he said, this curious doctor, or in other words, this weirdo doctors. But today, can you believe, people are doing yoga and meditation. It's already part of the culture. This is what I call the quantum culture. So, and then in medicine, there is a trend. COVID, in some way, will be seen as a trigger because medicine kind of convert to telemedicine. It's like a shift. 50% of doctors are doing telemedicine now. And now we're going for our student to what we call coaching, virtual, implementing this. And then already this hospital, like Kaiser here in Hawaii, they already have coach in their hospital. So, and the doctor doesn't have the time to do this work. Okay. So the renaissance of coach, people, wellness doctor, that will come from this angle. And I can witness already this happening. So our students or others training with this concept will kind of not infiltrate, but it's like the cheval de Troie, the Trojan horse. It's like, little by little, these ideas, because they are out there, they will be implementing little by little in medicine. And this is what we call democratization of medicine. So in other words, they will start to research the restore the ability of healing within the you have to in some way empower patient again, because when they are in the box, it's a drama. There's, as you said, it's like a condemnation. It's like now these will little by little can start to shift the whole system. This is what I'm saying now. It's happening. Yes, there is a resistance, but I can also see the light at the end of the tunnel. This resistance will fade because the necessity is there, and hopefully it makes sense.
I love your rooster crowing in the background.
Oh, I'm sorry. I closed my door, but
no, it's so funny. It's so funny. I'm assuming that if you are watching this, or if you aren't watching it, just go to YouTube and check it out, because you see this like unbelievable Hawaiian background here that is just healing just looking at. And then I hear your rooster, which I'm assuming are chickens.
So I am living within. Okay. So the background you see behind in the window is in the area where I am now, the ocean. And
how do you see quantum physics as being able to explain consciousness as something that exists outside the brain to help us understand what then happens when we die?
Okay. Now, first of all, this is not outside the brain. You are within consciousness. This is another way to say it. So you need to kind of walk through this thing and read more and meditate, because in some way, it's very difficult to grab with the mind. You don't grab consciousness with the mind, because the way you say it is like you try to understand it with your mind.
Got it.
Most of the time I say to my student, pick a meditation technique and start to go beyond. Start to transcend. And of course, I have my own meditation I teach, and I put together different technique. It's because there is a lot of meditation out there. The mindfulness, sometimes it's just a foot in the door. The meditation, you need to go beyond. You need to go a point of what I call singularity. And this is how you start to understand the universe, because you have to experience within what is the tiniest particle of light or energy within. And you can do this experience. First of all, I was using mantra, but later on I discover you can also, in some way enhance this experience with breathing. And then I'm also incorporating other, I don't want to talk about everything here, but I call that pro-consciousness meditation. So, but I'm not saying there's it's the only ladder, okay? Because there is other different type of meditation out there. But the very important point is to be able to go at the source beyond. And then when you start to experience this, you start to experience this state of stillness, awareness, which is consciousness. So, and this is an experience. It's like tasting the taste of it. It's like, if I try to explain you strawberry, how it tastes and what it is, and it's very hard, right? So, but if you taste it, you are within it.
Got it.
And what was your question? And okay, when you dare, of course, see how far down the rabbit hole you want to go. But, the possibility, when you go deep in quantum physics, you start to understand that the possibility of other universes there. The after death, and many people have described this state of luminous experience of light, and they come back and they have like, and when I was 22 years old, I was in medicine, and of course I was at some point feeling strange, doing the medical. I said, why I'm here? I don't understand this. I was kind of going through a transformation, and I done an incredible dream. And you need to have, you are second, young, right? The same one. That dream was kind of an after-death experience, because, I was in that space where there was so many light. And of course I saw I don't want to do this today, but, it's like, in other words, it's not difficult to imagine that there is a other dimension, other reality that exists. It's not difficult. And of course, everything communication between these two worlds. Yeah, it's possible, of course. And then all depend your religious background. And I'm not the one that profess this. Many religion they talk about this after death thing. It's like actually, and quantum physics also revealed that we are eternal. We are this, now, of course, we are in this body here and expressing this reality. But this is all possible in the realm of this quantum physics. But at some point, you cross a line where you get in the fate. The quantum physics go in this impersonal thing, universe. You start to understand the whole thing. But you all depend every individual. According and even atheists, they said they don't believe in that. It's not true. It's like entanglement. Everybody believes in something. If they say they don't believe in anything, this is their beliefs, right?
Right.
So, and they say, this ocean I'm looking now doesn't exist. Now you see it. Everybody, million people look at it. It exists. So, in other words, it's all depend which perspective and in respect and regard of all difference we have in religion and belief. So this after world, you become more personal. So I'm answering your question kind of in here. But, and one of the book I read years ago was Tao, from the Tao of Physics. And I don't know if you know this book. And they were explaining that, a mystic from all religion, they are experiencing this alter reality. You have monk in Christianity and monk in Buddhism, and the way they were describing reality was matching the way quantum physics was looking at the world. So that was pretty interesting. So in other words, most of the time, these monks meditating for years, and in some way they are in this other dimension, and what they observe, or the conclusion, or the fact, or whatever, they match of what quantum physics is in the path to reveal. So,
how amazing if this was adopted worldwide.
This is why I create this. Noosphere thing, because it needs a critical mass of people, and in the years 70, I believe, Maharishi come with an Maharishi Transcendental Meditation, Maharishi Mahesh. They done an experience where they said, if you 1% square root are meditating, that can change the reality around. Okay. And then they observe, less crime and less this and this. So in other words, and then from there, I create this website called projectnoosphere.com, where I said, hey, let's gather, because I'm more a homeopathic guy. Everybody, people every day, because sometimes we gather people for 1 year, and millions of people that said, no, I want people every day that gather around this idea. Heal yourself, heal others. And then I started this 6-7 years ago. And now every morning, every day, on the period of 24 hours, you have over 1,000, 1,500 people, sharing this intention, heal yourself and heal the world. Because this is how it starts. It starts with you. When you realize that you are in communication with the whole thing, everything is interconnected. And so what you ripple, within is rippling everywhere. So just this caring attention, I said, can have an impact. So, and then I look at the square root and I said, hey, Gandhi have changed the trend of his nation. You know probably the story, but I said, we're not Gandhi. I'm not the guy who fasts for 40 days. I said, maybe 1,000 of us may be equivalent of a Gandhi. So I said, and then I came with the number, the 1% square root. So 10,000 people can already have an impact. The question is not, we don't want everybody to think the same thing we applaud the diversity. Okay. what we want is more coherence in the whole system. And it starts with you, and then start with others.
And so when that's
and then this will ripple. This is
when there's that coherence, it changes the vibration.
Exactly. So because when you say, "Hey, I would like everybody to think this and that," even in the world of quantum physics, nobody thinks the same. We have a different perspective, and this is what we learn from quantum physics. It's like these perspectives add to the collective consciousness. What's happened now is like this is incoherent. There is probably too much hatred and all. We are kind of designed to what I call the Homo sapiens thing. And Homo sapiens is survival, and everybody has this beast within, right? So we have to shift what I call the Noos sapiens. We have to shift with a new way to transcend and understand this, greater reality. And this will it will ripple. When I came in America, with this like French accent, very difficult to communicate with people, whatever. And then of course I have a dream. But you never know how far your dream will go. My first conference, I have 2 people in the room. And one was a friend of mine. And today, we have 11,000 students, 118 countries. We have bigger network, a reach of a 250,000 people. How, it's just start with a little ripple. And I just see the beginning of it. It's like this, there's no end, and it will grow. It's like, and just
it's so inspirational. And one of the things I didn't say early on is that, interestingly, because my show is about life and death. Interestingly, what really piqued your own curiosity in this space was the death of your brother.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what...
When you say that, I have chills.
I mean, that's what pushed you to open up.
Yeah, that started to me, the quest of medicine. Can you imagine? He died, he was 17, I was 18. Osteosarcome of the skull. This is like dramatic, it's like pain all the time. And then he go to see, my mother go to see doctors, and then we were living in a small town, 20, 30,000 people south of Quebec City. And then she would come back and they think he was psychosomatic, and, and she was very grounded. And then most of the time when the specialist, has made the verdict, very difficult to reverse. It's like the family doctor doesn't understand what's going on, refer to the specialist, and the God specialist has done this verdict. It's like, and then the family doctor at this time, and this doctor had a very tremendous role in my life because he was a father figure for me. I didn't have, my father died, I was 6 years old. And he took on himself, we're in Quebec, send him in Boston, in a clinic, lay or whatever, and this is where they done the diagnostic. They open and they saw this osteosarcoma. Most of them is the knee, the legs, but this is very rare. And then for 2 years I witnessed him die. It's like, and then you have all these questions, why death, and all the existential questions. And 18, it's like you make your choice, the career. It's like your choice to where you go, university. And this is where I chose to go in medicine. And of course, when you get there, I didn't have any family blood doctors. I was coming from, my father was car dealers. And whatever. So I went there, and then I was in that quest to understand things at their roots. And of course, I was disappointed. I was kind of lost. And 22 years old, I do this dream. I felt I had to go to this, for ulterior, but at that time I didn't find maybe the time is going on now. And then, I got in practice, and then later on, of course, I started to, little by little integrate what is holistic medicine and consciousness. Yeah.
Well, Dr. Paul, this was so enlightening. I learned so much today. If people are interested in the work that you're doing and Quantum University, tell us where they can find you. And if how you look is any indication of the impact of what you're doing, there's something to that, because you look so young to me. And it just feels like you just glow from within. So tell everybody where they can find your work.
Okay, first, quantumuniversity.com. This is not difficult to remember, quantumuniversity.com. And the other one is my name, drpauldrouin.com. And then maybe a place to start is the blog, and of course, if you inquiry to become a healer, a doctor, natural medicine, integrative medicine, and we have people coming from all kind of area, some are already in medicine, nurses, and some are field that are totally different. But the desire to be a healer, desire to implement these principles, desire to be a coach. We have a coach program now. You just request, and then an academic advisor will, give you the information. And it's we listen people. Okay, is it a fit for them? Is it matching with what they have within? It's very important, because at the end of the day, they will be the embodiment, and so. So on my website, you will find the blog. And then the project Noosphere.com. Noosphere, Noosphere. And then this is where it's amazing. We have created a website where we have a pyramid, a virtual pyramid, 3D. And then you can walk in, you have video there, you can meditate with us. So you sign for meditation, it's totally free. But if you want to learn meditation, but I'm not pretending I'm the only one out there to do meditation, but if you went, because I resist to that for years.
I feel you in that.
They said, how do you meditate? Because meditation is very sacred, so it's very personal. So in other words, I finally put it out there. And then, but just if you can come with your way, prayer, meditation, chanting, whatever, as long as you share this caring intention, heal yourself, heal others. And then this has also a ripple effect, because you can you imagine now? I meditate in the morning, 1,000 people with me this day, linking with this intention, and then, I let it ripple. So I'm not in, on my island in Hawaii alone, and no, I feel this connection with everybody.
That energy.
Yeah, projectnoosphere.com, quantumuniversity.com, and drpauldrouin.com. I think it's plenty.
Well, thank you so much. Your book, Creative Integrative Medicine, is out now.
Yeah, I have another editor. This is you had this one, but there is one that have a picture on it.
Oh.
And the next we have edited another one. We review, and we have the audio too. People like the audio, so they don't have to read. And I intend to do it with my voice too, but I didn't have the time. So, and I'm planning to write another one too. So it's coming.
Well, thank you again for such an inspirational discussion today, and for helping me better understand quantum physics and how we create the reality in which we live. So thank you, Dr. Paul.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Like what you heard today and want to hear more? Wondering what comes next and what it all means? Head over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere you get your podcasts and hit subscribe. Also, if you could take a minute to rate and review my podcast, I would really appreciate it. Stay tuned as we continue to explore life, death, and the space between.